Hi, everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer here, taking a look at some Kentucky Derby contenders. And the Derby is right around the corner at this point. So you want to make your handicapping plan for the first Saturday in May. Check out one of our Kentucky Derby packages. When you're buying your past performances for the Kentucky Derby, get them in this bundle. And you also receive betting strategies, the player's guide, clocker reports from Mike Welsh and his team. And you save 39% on the value of all of that together. So find out more about Kentucky Derby past performances and Kentucky Derby packages at shop.drf.com. Mike, let's focus on one of the Brad Cox contenders for the Kentucky Derby, Final Gambit. He's going to be the bigger price of his two, as Tapan Street is the one that's going to garner much more support for the barn. But Final Gambit is coming off a victory in a 100-point prep race. That was the Jeff Ruby Stakes run over the synthetic surface at Turfway Park. And this horse has definitely come to hand recently. He started off his career running some slower races, first on the turf, then the synthetic and maiden races at Turfway. But boy, did he take a big step forward to beat stakes horses last time.
Yeah, he really did run well in that in the Jeff Ruby Stakes there. I know it's a totally different surface, David, and obviously that's a huge question for this horse, considering his sort of Juddmonte, more turfy female family. But man, did he look good winning the Jeff Ruby from last to first. Even his prior win, I was only a maiden win. It didn't come back with a fast figure. He was really impressive breaking his maiden as well.
He really was. I mean, he wasn't beating much that day, but he made the exact same kind of move as we saw in the Jeff Ruby Stakes, just held up at the back of the pack by jockey Lawan Machado. And as soon as he pushed the button on him around the 3/8 pole, he just started gobbling up the ground, lost ground around the turn, going 4 to 5 wide, and still was able to mow that field down in the stretch, and then did the same thing against way tougher company in the Jeff Ruby. And maybe that's just indicative of his running style, Mike, because horses that are deep closers do sometimes just run to their competition. And maybe he showed last time that he can still make that big run and pass everybody when he's facing tougher company. So perhaps that does bode well for him stepping up against an even tougher field in the Kentucky Derby. But he still has to answer the dirt question, whether he can overcome such a deficit while navigating traffic in a 20-horse field.
Yeah, and it's a huge question, too, whether he's going to be as effective on dirt. And you can just sort of envision this horse, especially because you're right, David. The last two races, it seems like they've found the way that he wants to run, which is to sort of take him back and let him make one run, because in his second career start, the first one on the all-weather at Turf, they sort of stayed closer to the pace there. And he just couldn't get to a big long shot on the lead in that race. I thought it was a pretty disappointing loss, but he's come back with two way better performances from way back up the pace. I can see this horse being a million lengths out of it up the backstretch of the Derby, and that could be a real issue for him.
It could be, but there is pace in this Derby, and if things fall apart, at least you know this horse has a big late kick on him, at least on other surfaces. We'll see if he can produce it on the dirt. Mike, you were mentioning his pedigree. There really is a lot of turf influence on the bottom side. His dam is a half-sister to a horse named Announce, who was a Group 1 winner overseas on turf, as well as Mexican Gold, who was a Group 1 placed horse on the turf overseas. I will at least say, if you're looking for some signs that there could be dirt production in this family, that horse Mexican Gold, who was Group 1 placed on the turf, produced a pretty good dirt horse that raced for Brad Cox and Juddmonte. So maybe there are some dirt influences hidden in the bottom side of the pedigree, but he's going to need to step up on the dirt if he's going to do it against a field like this in the Derby.
Yeah, he's got an awful lot to prove. You just sort of do feel like, though, that he'll be a fair price. And I do think he's a really talented colt. He's an interesting horse going forward, even if it is, maybe his future lies on a totally different surface. But I don't really have a big problem with them taking a shot at the Derby here. This horse has been real good in his last two wins.
Well, those are our thoughts on Kentucky Derby contender Final Gambit, but we want to hear from you. Let us know if you think that Final Gambit can build on that Jeff Ruby victory and translate his good synthetic form to the dirt on the first Saturday in May.